the very first Barely Legal I ever did was actually on the definition of precedent. It was actually, what does that mean, and how does that change the landscape? What this is saying, in this opinion, both the one in the Arizona versus California case and now Texas versus Pennsylvania, is, oh, well, there are some states disputes that have nowhere to go. We're not going to the UN. We're not going to International Space Station until the aliens come down like in Stargate and decide that they're going to sit as judge. Apparently, our Supreme Court is not interested in making that decision.
Well, and it's not that they said no. Right? It's not that they heard the case and then decided against it. It is that they have said, this is not the kind of case that we will even hear.
Correct.
And
there's no standing.
That has to be a little bit demoralizing for any kind of future case. I can't imagine.
It does. It sets a questionable precedent going forward, but here we are. So moving forward, there's been a lot of talk in the last couple of days since Friday about what do we actually do about that. Some commentators in the conservative world, as well as a lot of users and other folks and followers who have sent some comments in, have asked about a case way back when in the 1800s called U.S. versus Throckmorton. Now, it dealt with Mexican land grant, but I'll just tell you the headline. This is the quote you've probably seen everywhere if you're reading some of this stuff and following on it, that fraud vitiates everything, which really just means fraud nullifies, avoids, cancels out, neutralizes.
Thank you for defining that. I was going to ask, but I didn't want to be like the stupid kid going, hey.
That is an old word. I don't know.
Hey,
I went across,
a stupid kid.
And I was like, Quarterblack
I'm
gets
not that stupid.
Audio Wade gets it, and I can see the glimmer of misunderstanding in your eye all the way from here. A twinkle.
There it is.
Sure. A twinkle,
it captured
if you will.
it perfectly. Yeah.
So this is a very common legal threshold. And in fact, everyone who has been a part of this election cycle and gone through it understands a fundamental question, which is, if something is founded on fraud, how can we really trust it? And shouldn't we know that we're going to erase a process or undo a process or undo the results of a process that is based in fraud? This has been long the law in the United States and within the state opinions as well, and even codified in some statutes. But there are some exceptions. And some of those exceptions are that if you do not have a case where someone actually had the ability to go in and reveal the fraud. So we've had a lot of lawsuits so far. They tried to do the best they could. A lot of them were decided wrongly. And I think the largest question people have is, why can't we just look at the actual evidence? And in some cases, they looked a little bit. In some cases, they didn't look at all. But ultimately, part of the ground game as we get to when we look at the Electoral College is establishing what you can actually do. Remember, when it comes to software issues, when it comes to places where poll watchers were thrown out, where do you even find the evidence, much less in time for the critical dates in the Electoral College process? So when we talk about fraud vitiating everything, ultimately the reason why Throckmorton's probably not going to be a big deal going forward, and I'm sure you're seeing this as you're out there on message boards, probably scrawled on the side of a shooting bay at a shooting range, is fraud vitiates everything. But here's the thing, where are you going to go figure that out in the Supreme Court? And the Supreme Court has already said, we're not going to be looking. But remember, this isn't just a battle for today. And this is what Stephen was talking about last week, which is we need to talk about where this fraud is going to be revealed in the future, no matter what happens in the next couple of weeks. There's a very timely reason for doing it now, but we need to continue to be revealing what that is so that we can fix the system going forward and try to save the republic.
Right, and it's not like the right has just found voter fraud as a cause. Like, the right has been the only people talking about voter fraud ever. I've never heard anybody like on the left saying, we definitely need some voter ID laws. We need to
they always want to
tighten
relax
the process.
They always make it easier for fraud to happen.
Why would they ever have motive for that?
I don't know where you're looking, but I hear them talking about voter fraud all the time.
Sure, okay.
You know, appended with the word no voter fraud.
Right. Or Russians hacking elections. So
but what I'm saying is that the right's not doing this because they just like Trump. It's not like, Trump said there's voter fraud, so then the right suddenly cares about voter fraud. No, we've cared about voter fraud for a very long time. It's just that this, again, is a very timely moment.
Can I give you an unpopular opinion? This might actually cause some blowback on me a little bit.
We just called that a Gerald opinion.
Gerald opinion, yes. But it's not stepping on a joke, so it's not kind of my normal shtick.
Weird.
But I actually think, and I thought this before the election, just based on how things were going, that the best thing for the Republican Party getting into the Oval Office again soon would be Trump losing this election. And one of the reasons that I thought that is that there was so much support for the policies that Trump was pushing. There was so much support for what he was doing that even if he wasn't president and we didn't lose the Senate, that we would be just fine. There would be some things that we wouldn't like, right? He could do executive orders, and I wouldn't like some of the stuff that Biden would do. But I think that it would make it really easy for a Republican who is maybe like a Trump light, just a little bit. Same policy, same fiery stuff, but less Twitter. I think it would make them very likely to win easily over Joe Biden in 4 years, and then we get 8 more years of a Republican-led country.
Well,
and I thought so with all of that, with all of this is period. This is before voter fraud. This is before any of that. I know what you're saying though is that that wouldn't happen if voter fraud continues. Then we may never have somebody else come into that's a Republican. But that was my opinion before this election happened, because of the state of our country. And so for me, I actually still believe that. But I would be willing to sacrifice that to get to who actually won the election, period. Whether it's Joe Biden or Donald Trump, I think it's better if Trump loses for the country going forward. I know, don't hate me. I'm not an anti-Trump person.
I love how that quote's going to be taken out, right? It's going to be like Vox is going to go,
oh, for sure.
Louder with Crowder co-host says better that Trump loses. No, but your point is very well taken. I call it the let the child fall or let him touch the hot stove, right? Which is at some point, like we'll talk about AOC in Brooklyn, right? You had all these people saying, oh, we need a socialist. We need socialists. We need this waitress to come in here. She's going to be our savior. You don't believe in saviors. Doesn't matter. But
we do now.
But not. So then you go, okay, well, at some point you got to go, all right, well, why don't we just see what happens, right? You guys go do what you want to do. You want to jump off the cliff? I'm telling you it's a cliff. You're saying it's just the edge of a pool. I think it's a problem.
It's like California right now. Everybody's going like,
exactly.
Oh, these socialist ideas, they suck.
Right. Where's the grand experiment going to go? Now you look at, losing Amazon and all the other problems that have come in the years since the Amazon decision in her district. So,
I did see recently, this may seem like a departure, but I don't think it is, a comedian named Fortune Feimster. She's a funny actress. She's good at what she does. She tweeted something like, I haven't thought about Donald Trump at all in the last month. And it hit me like, I think that it's almost like this. We've thrown the sacrifice into the volcano, and now we can all rest as some kind of as the society. But at some level, at some point, that anxiety is going to come back, and there's going to be some new person that they're able to assign that to. And I think that
whoever the next Republican is,
they'll
be the new
you've
evil
got the
person.
squad who is now already turning on Biden, and then you've got the rest of America on the left who's going to go, the parts of America that are on the left that are going to find the next evil person. It'll probably be one of the 4 of us, and then Stephen's already on that list, so he's already got the target on his back, and we're just going to join him there. And then you're gonna just see this cycle happening again. I absolutely believe that.
It'll be interesting to see what happens going forward.
So when we say, oh, okay, we're going to let these people fall and let's see what happens, the problem becomes, as you described, which is, do you get too far gone? Right. You're willing to let your kid touch a hot stove, but you're not probably willing to let him dump the boiling water on himself.
No.
And that's where we always have this worry is, okay, you're going to give them a little rope, but how far is it that you can't get it back? And that's really the main concern here. Are we losing our republic by saying, hey, we're just going to slide this under? And that Throckmorton case actually has a point, which is at some point you can't go back and figure out the fraud. And at some point it creates a rot that cannot be undone. And the first thought I had was, how are we going to shore up the republic and say, just because all of this bad stuff happened doesn't mean the country can't move on? And we need to be thinking about that. One other point, when you're out there talking about these issues to anyone else, it's a very good idea to be doing this as Trump neutral. And I don't say you can't be in favor of Trump, but the whole point of a well-reasoned legal system and a republic that we have is that it doesn't matter what side is deciding. You can look at these principles and apply them no matter the candidate. And that's the part that frustrates me the most right now, is I will talk about these procedures and policies. Hey, we want to make sure there's no voter fraud. And they go, nah, Trump lost, Trump lost, Trump lost. No, hold on. Let's go back and say, this is Biden's second term. Wouldn't you want to make sure? Well, let's just flip the... Well, I mean, I think we'd want to look at it. Oh, okay, that's what we're saying.
Watch Good Morning Mug Club live every Monday through Thursday at 10:15 Eastern.